and action upon today, tomorrow, this week, and things that can get us asking the right questions that can really make a difference. And that's the big aim. So we broke it down into 3 key parts: some to avoid, a top list of things to do, and then I've got a little structure which we use with our clients, which I think for most people out there, when you look at this, it will make a big difference for what you've got. It really does make a big difference having the client journey in order, but there's a lot of subcategories into this, which we obviously can't fit into today. So we're going to aim over the next 20 minutes to hammer that out, give you the details. And then, of course, we've got Elaine, Sharon, William, and Beiju, Lauren here as well, which I'm sure they're going to have some great tips and advice as well. So when we're talking about things to avoid, one of the big issues we seem to come across for pretty much every single customer, every single client that we come into, people talk about client journeys all the time, and people talk about how a client journey is going to benefit them. But actually, a lot of the time when we create a client journey, the vast majority of the time, we're quite selfish. We work out our client journey based on what we're trying to deliver. And now that is part of it. Yes, of course. We're trying to get it effective. But what we've also got to do is be able to put the glasses on of our clients and of our buyers and go through the detailed processes that are going to make a big difference at that point. So first and foremost, one of the big things I say to people to avoid, we've got to avoid when we're mapping out a client journey to have it as just a ticked off exercise on your list. Your client journey is going to adapt and get improved and have new iterations of it as you grow within the business. Most businesses out there, your audience, your avatar, the way you deliver and your reputation and all the other small things inside that won't stay fixed. It's not about a result with your journey. It's about having a series of processes that cover a series of avenues within the business that makes the journey smooth for the client and effective for us. One thing I'd say to a lot of people, be very mindful of, unless you are an expert with your CRM, be very mindful about how much you get the CRM software to actually map out all of the processes you've got. Because for a lot of the time, it doesn't account for small different changes that you'll have in there. Software can be a good starting point. If you haven't got a process, it's better to have a process than no process, because you're losing business without the right process. And this is just a fact. If you don't have the right way to engage our people coming through from the different structures, you will miss out on opportunities. But on the flip side, if you crank that up too hard with your CRM, you can end up putting the wrong messages out at a wrong level of frequency and at the wrong point, because the CRM is typically based, for a lot of instances, for a B2B model. And for a lot of the B2B models that are used on a lot of the CRMs, if you look at the moment, there's a lot longer life cycle and client journey that people will have. So really be mindful of that. Now, number 3, things you've got to be really mindful of with our client journey. When we miss out one key part of a client journey, it can throw out everything else you've got. So for example, say you've got 6 stages of your journey. If your second stage, you're having a huge amount of people fall out, not resonate, not connect with it, it doesn't matter that 4, 5, and 6 are your best work. And for entrepreneurs, small business owners, it's very easy to build a client journey, put it up, and we go, okay, well, that part was great, and this is great. And then we go, hang on a minute, are people not connecting with my work? They might not even be getting to that stage with the right mindset to take the right action. Because if you've got this organized in the right fashion, you're trying to bring people through a structure. Now, everyone will probably remember who's heard me talk before. We talk about a pyramid of a buying process, which takes people through 4 stages. And that's product problem unaware, product problem aware, information gathering, and buying now. And what we're doing with this client journey is having people from they don't know you through every single stage, every single thought process, every single problem that they can go into. And you can build this out in almost a tiered fashion. So for example, imagine I want to go from London to Manchester. Initially, I could just have that map of get on X motorway from here at this time, go on that motorway, that motorway, that motorway, and I'm there. Now, you could go into more detail on that journey. You could pick out places to stop. You could have places you're going to fuel up. You could have restaurants you want to deliver. You might have places you want to go and see as a sightseeing visit to lengthen out that journey and make the journey more impactful. But initially, knowing the journey is one of the key parts that people don't look into. So when you're looking at it, it's not just about do I have a journey? It's about how effective is the journey for the user, and does it correlate successfully to the type of results that we actually want to get? So that was just a quick couple of tips on things you want to make sure you're avoiding. Here's the top tips for making it right. And we're going to actually give you an actual process for this in a moment. So just hang around for a second. Number one, be really clear on the journey you've got about what we are trying to actually accomplish. Now, here's a caveat. If you're a coach, a business owner who's got multiple products, your client journey will incorporate different products. So you'll end up with almost a spider's web. So initially, my advice would be this: get effective on one line of client journey for your main product. Now, you can quite easily bolt in, because as you go part along that journey, when you get to the product stage, that's only really where it matters. But if you've got that first line at 100% effectiveness, or as near as you can, it's far better to have that than have a very vague client journey on all your products that doesn't hit the notes for anything that they say. So be really clear. What are we trying to accomplish? Who am I trying to accomplish it for? What's the end goal? Now, number two leads into that. Knowing who's the person, the company, the avatar that we're trying to map out for is also vitally important. You don't just want a product-based, service-based journey. We want to have a journey that is talking directly through the processes, the mindsets, the concerns, and the questions that person will have. And there's a really simple exercise, and I think we'll cover this when we do offers in a few weeks' time, that breaking down all of the problems in your business, and this is a really hard thing to do, all the reasons that someone would not buy. Now, I'm not talking here about necessarily objections. I don't have the money, I don't have the time. But reasons why, if we take you out of your business, someone wouldn't buy your product. For example, it won't work for me. I've brought courses before. I'm too busy to do X. I don't have the time for Y. My friends would laugh at me if I did this. Like, really get detailed about every single problem. Now, when we know every single problem, we can break them down into actual articulate solutions that talk directly to the problems themselves. So what you would do on your first stage of your client journey is break down all of your problems. Now, once we broke down the problems, grab out the top 3 to 5 problems that you hear the most to develop the clear line of solutions for who that will talk to and what that might be. For example, I've been reading a great book recently, and in that book, they were talking about fitness. And the big concern for most people would be, say, for example, you've got a working parent who wants to get fit, they want to lose weight. Part of that would be they don't have time. They don't think they've got enough time to prepare healthy food. They don't have enough time to cook different dishes for themselves and for what their kids want. So part of their solution would be how to do X healthy meals in under 15 minutes, perfect for busy parents. So that solution would then talk directly to the very pain points that you can bring multitudes of into it. And this is why it's so important to know exactly who we're doing the journey for, because then we can break down the key pain points of exactly what is holding them back. Not just holding them back buying your product, holding back in the belief, holding back on all the small incremental changes that you might know are not valid for you, but for the person that you're dealing with, they are valid. Because for right now, that's in their mindset. That could just be the fact, if we go back to the fitness side, but they've tried 20 diets before and they've never worked, so they've got no belief. So imagine if someone's met 20 people just like you, 20 solutions just like yours, 20 products just like yours. One of those objections is going to be that they've never seen success. It was too complicated. It was too in-depth. They couldn't follow it. So then you can break these down into solutions and make this part of your client journey. And then these messages, these conversations, the simplicity, the effectiveness is spoke about throughout the journey. And with that familiarity throughout the journey, that same conversation keeps popping up. It's far easier because of that repetition, but people are going to understand and believe more that yours is the right option. Okay. So number 3, talk to the audience. Talk to your customer. This is one of the key things most people are not doing. What we think is going to be effective for our client journey and what your end customer actually thinks will often be very different. Now, you've got to be very mindful. We've got to be really careful on the way you ask for questions. For example, we can all lead people on questions. And this is why people hate sales. You've got someone who's just trying to get you to say yes. But what we actually want them to do is we want them to be really honest. So when you're giving people the questions to get your answers, don't lead them down the path of what you're trying to get an answer for. Don't try and lead them to your answer. Have multiple choices. Have different variances that could take them away from yours. You want to almost make yours like the lowest option. And that's because you want to see how much of a pull the way that you would do things works. Because if we shine the light on all the other areas, for example, let's talk about coaching. If I shine the light on why spending 50 quid a month could actually be really beneficial, I want to see if that person believes in the fact that actually the value is, there's a degree of it that actually you get what you pay for. But actually they don't believe that paying a low amount is a good idea. So I would talk about these options in there because you almost want to disqualify people as part of this. Now, when we're talking to our audience, that's great, but go off and talk to your existing customers. Part of your client journey, which is the very tail end, is gaining testimonials, gaining referrals. And when you're coming through at that end stage, having a couple of simple questions that are part of that will help you tweak the next journey for the next lot of people, the next lot of buyers. Because you might well find that for the last 6 months, this A, B, and C is why the people bought from me. But suddenly there's been a change in the economy. There's a fear about a recession. Currency prices are going down. Wars are going to happen. Whatever the people's belief is, their buying can change from a desire buyer to a fear-based buyer. Because 2 of the main reasons that most people will buy is for a fear of loss or for a desire for gain. And in times of uncertainty, the fear of loss can become so much more powerful as a buying reason. For example, if you sell life insurance, with COVID at the moment, a huge amount of people have questioned stuff. If you've seen people that have been ill, you've had people that have fallen ill with COVID, they question themselves. They make sure they've got their insurances up. If people have known someone who passed away or been illness or been stuck overseas, holiday insurance becomes more valid. All these things change the dynamic of your customers, your clients, and your buyers. And the best way for you to have this is included at the end of your client journey, when you're getting your referrals, when we're getting our testimonials, because then you can keep up to date and you can know fully that what you are talking to your buyers about is completely in line with your perfect avatar and who you are trying to sell or getting as a client. Next up, number 5. You've got to have must-haves within your journey. So by understanding the unique customer relationship, you've got to understand then the life cycle of that customer. Then we've got to be able to work out how those interactions are going to work. For example, what do they need after each interaction within your client journey? I'll give you a prime example of this. Imagine you've just got on a phone call with me and you're talking about spending £15,000 on coaching. You've agreed to it, you like it, you're excited about it, but there's an intrepidation inside of you, and that's completely normal. We've got 2 options. We send out a proposal to you, and we just leave it for you randomly to come back to us when you're ready. Or we know that typically with our clients, because it's a big investment for them, bigger than they've normally probably done before, there's going to be questions that are going to come in their mind within the 6 hour to 24-hour period after they've received our proposal. So what do? We record as soon as I get off a call with you and agree to the proposal. I record a video there and then. It's normally 1 to 2 minutes long. I upload it to my email on the platform, to the CRM. And then what will happen is they will receive that video 6 to 24 hours later. So I schedule it as a video. So as John is sat there going, God, I'd really want to work with Dave. What if it doesn't work? And what about this? And what about that? And he gets a video and it's saying, hey, listen, just wanted to say I'm excited to get you started. Now, if you're anything like most of my clients, you've probably sat there now. You've cooled down about the excitement of it all and you're trying to logically piece it together. Let me just remind you of 3 key areas. 1, if in 12 months you haven't got a 5x return, you're going to get your money back. 2, we broke down the platform into manageable steps. 3, visit tuster.biz, right? So we give them 3 simple parts. And because it's come through at the right time, it's reignited the emotional state of that buyer. That's going to increase our conversion. But we're only going to know that when we know what the must-haves are. So what must our client have before they will make a decision to buy? What must my client have to stay as a repeat client? What must my client have before they would get a proposal? And when we understand these within the journey, we can adapt to these processes and it will make us far more effective. Okay. Number 6, nice, but not vital. Now, when you're looking at a huge amount of things that most people have in their client journey now, we have something which is a clever bit of wizardry that we really like and we really feel it's great in our business, but actually the other person doesn't make them move the needle either way. So for example, you could have a really clever bit of automation software, but for your client, they're just getting a video, an email, an interactive questionnaire, whatever it might be. So it's clever for you and it's nice, but it's not a must-have for your client. And too many people now end up with a lot of their nice but must-haves, nice but not vital, instead of the actual must-haves within the business. Because the must-haves are for the buyer. The nice but not vitals are things for us that help our business, but they don't dramatically impact our client. They just mean that we're more effective over the long term when we're scaling out to the actual users. Okay. Number 8, even. We've got to make sure that when we've got a client journey, that we take action in a number of areas. Number 1, you will get bored of your client journey. You should be. You should know, in the same way you know how to walk from your local high street to your house, walk from a pub back to your home, whatever it might be, because you've done it so many times in your life, you should be inside your client journey so much that you're sick to the back teeth of it. But that's a sign that you're so involved in your client journey that you're taking the relevant actions that people were going to understand it in the best way. Another step you've got to take. You need to find someone who doesn't mind offending you to go through your client journey. Someone who's going to be understanding a potential avatar, a potential client. So this might be an associate of yours, a business partner, a colleague who's in a similar field to you. They're never going to buy from you, but they understand your industry. Now, the great thing about that is this. They have industry knowledge on your precise avatar. Be mindful of this, though. When you get an industry specialist, they understand the basics of there, so they're not coming in as a new fish in your market. So what you want to do is have 2. One is someone who knows your industry. They're going to talk to you from your side and work out whether it was good, whether it was effective, where you could tweak it. Then you want to take someone who doesn't know a single thing about your industry, not a single thing. And you get them to come into your client journey and see if they're engaged, if they are interested, if they understand what you do. Because if people that don't know your industry don't understand what you do, the likelihood you will move someone who does know what you do to a stage of buying is quite slim. Because all you're doing is taking them to a certain level. Well, we need to elevate people. You need to move people emotionally, and we need to move them logically to taking a decision that's going to actually move them forward. Okay. So in short, that's our simplest steps of what to avoid and also what you need to do. Now, to follow on from this is what I want you all to do. If anyone's got a pen and paper, it will really make a big difference for you. So I want you to imagine yourself in a little Excel spreadsheet, and I want you to think about, at the top of it going across, we're going to have sales processes. And at the bottom on the left, we're going to have two boxes. We're going to have the seller, and then we're going to have the buyer. Now, this is why this is so important with your client journey. We develop really detail about what we think the client wants. But what we don't do is break down each one of these steps to really work it out. Now, what you can do of what we're going to cover now is once you've got this, you can go into each part and you can get subcategories in each part. And what you want to be able to do is initially get this built. And then what I want you to do is take the time to tune up the engine, to tweak up these processes, to go from okay to good, from good to great, from great to outstanding. And that'll come with time. Now, if you want to learn some hacks on how to improve your client journey, go out today and find 5 people within your industry that are leagues ahead of what you're doing right now, that are kicking ass, that are getting results. They have the awareness. They engage the life out of you. When their videos come up, you want to see them. You're interested in how much money they make or how big their business is, and get into their journey. Now, I don't want you to do this as a throwaway thought that you forget about 2 minutes later. I want you to go off, and I want you to actively have time over the next week to engage with their information. Because when you understand what your competitor is doing right, you can replicate it without having the qualifications behind it. And here's a couple of hacks you can use. Number 1, say I go on to Grant Cardone. Let's say we go into Grant Cardone's funnel, and I go into his funnel. When I scroll to the bottom, there will be normally some degree of logo or information of where it is hosted. So you can find what products and services are being used. Now, when you know the products or services that are being used, it's far easier to find their structure. Maybe they're using Typeform. Maybe you're using a competitor of Typeform. Maybe they're using a different way of going through that. Maybe they're using the interactive platform. Maybe they're using MailChimp. Maybe they've got Active Campaign. Now, when you've got an idea of what your industry is using, if you are impressed with it, great. But what you want to be able to do is, when you register in there, note down, what did I like about their, what did I engage with first on their video? What did I like about that first landing page? What did I hate about it? What was best about the pop-up? What grabbed my attention? Now, when you're going to get serious about this, the best thing to do, and this is if you want to find a quicker cheat if you don't have allocated time, is when you're going through this, either screenshot it on your phone, which is normally what I do, and I set up an album on my phone of competitors, and I will literally go through. And as I go into their funnel and their pop-up comes up and their landing page, I screenshot it. And I go to the bottom left-hand corner on photos, and I add those photos to the competitor's album. And what will happen is, over the space of the next week, you're going to be on their landing page, get their pop-ups, get the invites, you're going to get the emails, and you'll have screenshotted their whole funnel. Now, this just gives you the keys to the kingdom. This gives you a clear idea of how they're engaging on their emails, what call to actions are working for them. What are the hashtags that they're using? What are the videos that they're taking in? How soft is the approach about the product or the service? Do they talk about the product or the service? Do they talk about the results? Are they talking about mindset over product? There's a huge amount of questions that people that are already killing the game that you're trying to get to are leaving you clues every single day. The problem is we're so used to being exposed to amazing content, we sit there being impressed instead of being a student. So what we want to do is break that down. Imagine you're going to be a boxer. You're not going to just jump in the ring with the guy you're going to fight, the lady you're going to fight, without watching a few fights back so you can see the way they move. Businesses, by their very nature, want exposure. They are showing you the keys to the kingdom. What is the title that they use? Now, you might not like their title, but here's the big thing. Do you not like their title because you don't like it, or you think it gives a bad message to your clients? You've got to really look at it, because say, for example, your business is doing 6 figures. You're doing 100K a year, right? But their business is doing 7 figures. That one difference could be a 5% increase, 10% increase. And if you're not sure if it's going to work, if you're using ClickFunnels or something different, split test that one part. Have your plan. Then what you can do is have their plan. And you can see, not from what you feel is best, but by your clients' reactions of exactly what they do, when they do it, and what path your clients choose. And if you go on there and you see that your competitor's landing page version that you have is getting 75% better conversion, you have to just eat that humble pie. Too often we're throwing the bricks and throwing the stones at our competitors. Oh, I don't like the way they do this, and I don't like the way we do that. But the majority of the time, we're not looking to see, does that work? Because there's a part of this that what we don't like is because we want our clients to buy from us in the way we want to sell. We want them to enjoy the way that we market. We want them to enjoy the way we write an email. But actually, it's not about us. It's about you delivering what your clients need at the most appropriate time in the most consistent nature. And if you've got a pathway in front of you, it will become far, far easier for you to do. So let's jump into this quick and we can do some questions. So across the top, if anyone's writing this down, if you're not, just imagine it. We've got prospecting, qualifying, lead magnet, presenting, handling objections, closing, delivery. Anyone who DMs me, I'll just send you this, by the way. Upsell, follow-up. So that's pretty much our key areas within the funnel. Now, on your tier 1 level, all we want to understand at the moment is what the heck is going on. So down on our side, let's go across as if we're going from a seller point. So for prospecting, as a seller, you're trying to, at this point, engage a prospect. You're trying to ask base qualifying questions. You're trying to present some type of USP. You're trying to put some type of base solution ideas to them. They, on the other hand, the buyer, are responding to either a video, a call to action. They're making an inquiry. They're thinking suitable questions. They're starting to question, will it work, will it not? Okay, so next over, we're going to be in qualifying. Now, in qualifying, we're asking, as sellers, base questions to find suitability of people that are our ideal people. On the buyer's side, they are asking base questions to find suitability for a potential provider of a solution to a pain point that we have. Next up, bear in mind, each one of these sections is a title. You go into that title, you break that title down. Lead magnet / researching, if you will. So as a seller at this point, you're trying to analyze needs. You're split testing programs, ideas, platforms, pain points. We're showing facts to people. Let's forget whether people believe your facts. We're showing facts. We're having testimonials, right? We're proving a solution to the pain point that they were researching at qualifying. And in the buyer's process, they're going to be researching you, researching your company, comparing you to your competitor, evaluating your suitability to the competition, deciding on whether they're going to make some degree of a purchase, whether they're going to engage in a conversation, whichever that might be. Next up, you're at presenting now. So the people have come into the lead magnet, they're on a call, they're in a meeting, whichever it is. At the presenting stage, you are presenting a demonstration of a product or a service based on the needs that you've got so far. They, at this stage in the presentation, are receiving a demonstration. Now, that sounds like but it's pretty obvious. But to sit at the other side, someone could listen to me right now and be bored to tears. That's fine. Other people are like, crap, where's my pen and paper? Someone else is sat there right now writing this down in detail and then leaving themselves voice notes. Like some people are going really analytical on it. And it's okay on what level you're at. But when you know your avatar at the presenting stage, you've already got all of the ideas. You've got the prospects. You've got the qualification. You've analyzed their needs. You've worked out testimonials. You've found out that they're the right buyer. So when you're presenting this demonstration, you should be able to imagine being that person who has sat in that seat, sat on that Zoom call, and actually understanding every part of that conversation. So next up, you've presented. Our stage now is our handling of objections. At this stage, we will start using trial close questions. Not here asking people to become hit the phone and die trying type of mentality, but asking trial questions that gauges interest or gauges a disqualification. Meaning you're asking questions where they'll give you a, yeah, I want to continue. No, this isn't for me. You want to find problems that are outside of what you would normally expect from your avatar. You want to find and present alternative solutions based on the requirements at that stage. Now, think of this from a buyer's process for a moment. They want to feel comfortable, confident, and able to express concerns. They want to understand the questions from their mind, not the way you're explaining it, and decide if progression at this stage, they are comfortable and confident of moving forward, or if they want to retreat. They want to understand fully whether they are in a safe place or whether someone is just trying to get the hood over them and get them to buy something. Now, when you're at this stage now, we're going to then move that into closing. I know this is a lot to take in. Just DM me client journey and I'll just share this sheet with everyone. It's fine. I won't pitch you. You won't go into my client journey for it. Okay, so we're at closing. At closing stage, once you've done all of this, your sole purposes are negotiating and finalizing a contract, taking a payment, sending a proposal, whatever that's going to be. But it's gone from, yes, we want to do business. Can we get the right agreement that works for you and works for me? And then we move forward. And from the buyer stage, they're deciding on whether to take action, whether the solution exceeds their needs, not just meets it, whether the terms are suitable, and whether they are prepared to take a bet on you. Do not forget, it doesn't matter how great your product or service sounds. For them, bringing you into their company, hiring you, recruiting you is a risk. You can say it's not, but actually for them, you could damage their business. You could increase their business. So you at this point need to negotiate at the closing stage of what you're going to do. And we've got 3 final stages of what you need to break down. Next one is delivery. This is pretty simple. We've got to have an effective delivery. They've got to precisely receive it. So that means at the delivery point, how do you, from the second they pay you, deliver the product or service in a way that wherever they would normally be sat when they receive it, for example, if they're sat in their desk at their office, or they've sat at a meeting with a team, or they're sat at home having a glass of wine in the evening because they're an entrepreneur, how when they receive that delivery is the most effective way for them to go through that process. Now, once we've broken that part down, we then look at your upsell opportunities. For anyone that freaks out right now and says, oh, I don't like to upsell. You have people who already have your product and your service. The opportunity to upsell is always there. The reason you don't do it is you don't realize the value that you are missing out on your product or service and the needs that they have. Because if you have just fixed all of these problems in their business by your product or service, you will have normally created another problem. For example, you hire me to generate you leads. Suddenly I've got you loads of leads. Your problem now is closing the business. If I help you build your brand on social media, now you're getting loads of leads. You don't know what to do with them, right? You're getting loads of attention, but you don't know how to monetize it. There's always going to be a degree of an upsell. You could buy one product and there's a repeat business or subscriptions. And what we need to do at this point is lean into those upsell opportunities. We need to break down what they are, and we need to be able to increase the value base that the buyer has at this point of why would this be of benefit now. Hence why we see so many upsells on ClickFunnels and similar. For the buying process at this stage, their job is they're not expecting an upsell. They will be so focused on the product and the service delivery that you've had, they won't be thinking about the problems that are going to come. Why? Simple point. They haven't been where you're taking them. So when, say, you hire me as a coach, and I'm coaching you right now, and I say to you, we're going to get you in at this base level program, spend a few $100 a month, you're in. If I know when you get the results come in, you won't have organized an upsell. At this point, my upsell is how to upsell, right? So what happens in your product is if you're taking someone out of a comfort zone to a new place, they do not know what is going to come. They don't know when it's going to come or how it's going to come. After that stage is just fog. Your job in the upsell stage is how to keep increasing their value and shine the spotlight into the future so that their path continues. Not just you've sold them a product, their life got better and we stop. And then on the flip side part of this, which is a really hard one you've got to work out on, is for the people that didn't buy from you now, how to create the follow-up process. Now, your follow-up process from a seller side is how to realign the buyer around the doubts and concerns that they had, how to raise the temperature, the thermometer, the buying need of that buyer to a state where they take action. And then from the buyer's side is to decide after the emotional hype up has gone, if logically your product or service would ever be of use. And it's the seller's job to come back to that buyer to answer and navigate them through any of those problems and pain points to deliver. Now, the follow-up cycle is going to take you the longest amount of time because you've got to break down each hurdle and an objection and then be able to how to subtly and effectively engage with that person without them feeling like they're being hammered and sold to, because you're only going to alienate those people. So in short, that's the best thing you need to go off and do. If you haven't had the list, just DM me or drop me an email with client journey and I'll send it straight over to you.